Welcome in, everybody, to Betting Pros. It's time to place your bets. It's me, Joey P. Joe Pizzapia. With me is my boy D-Bro, Derek Brown. We're going to break down the Thursday night football matchup for you. Talk about the overs, the unders. It's a big number. Just prepare yourself. I hope you're sitting down. We'll take your questions, too, if you have any. By all means, drop them here in the chat. Make sure you subscribe to Betting Pros because, well, it's a great place to get your betting content. Obviously, all the podcasts, the live streams, everything going on. Subscribe to Betting Pros on YouTube, youtube.com/Betting Pros, and click that little bell till it goes ding. So you know every time a piece of content drops. And D-Bro, we got a big one tonight, baby. Ooh-wee. I like this matchup here. You got the Kansas City Chiefs. You've got the Los Angeles Chargers, two premium quarterbacks, AFC West matchup. What more can we want in a football game than this?
Woo!
It's sexy.
It's going to be beautiful, baby. I love shootouts, and I think this is going to be one.
Well, let's hope, because the number is at 54 right now. It could even be growing as we speak, as money continues to come in on it. But look, let's start there. Let's start with that over-under in that 54, because it is the second week of the season. It is, you know, a whole lot of data to go off of, but it is a short week, and it's that early preparation. So do you think that there's any way, shape, or form that this game underperforms and you get maybe them coming under this 54 with the short week? Or do you think, no, these are just two top quarterbacks just slinging the ball all over the place?
So we said this about the last time with Buffalo and the Rams, and we're like, gotta hit that over. I do think that on these short weeks with Thursday games, chasing this total is not a bet that I'm probably going to make. I think that there's a lot of credence to sit here and go and hit the over. Personally, I'm probably going to stay away from it because we have seen, you know, a lot of high-powered teams come out and just it'll be a slogfest. Like, I mean, I'm not going to rule that out here. So as far as the total, I'm probably just staying away from it, Joe.
That's fair. That's fair. The number right now is the Kansas City Chiefs favorite at home by 4. How does that number strike you, D?
I like that number. If I was going to bet anything, I would take the Chiefs to cover. I like them to win this game. You know, we say we will about the total. If the total was even like in the, like say even 50, maybe I'd be betting the over, a little more aggressive on it. But I do like the Chiefs to take this home.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Chiefs looked fantastic offensively. Now, how much do we want to put in that, considering how bad maybe Arizona is defensively? I just want to throw that out there. Like, I don't want to overrate the Chiefs. I know a lot of people have questions about the Chiefs offense without Tyreek Hill, with his new cast of characters, what it would look like. Well, week one will look pretty good, but is that more about Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, or is it a little bit also about the Arizona Cardinals?
I think it's twofold. I think it's about the Cardinals. I think the Chiefs are still going to be extremely good. The worry that you have on the Chiefs, and part of this kind of lends itself to going hitting the under on the total, is how much pressure that Patrick Mahomes faced. In week one, he was the most pressure quarterback in the NFL. And so we know Khalil Mack is there. We know Bosa is there.
Right.
So I think Mahomes could be running for his life. And if he is going to be running, then you're looking at, okay, how are the Chiefs going to sit here? And we're going to get into a lot of these props that we're going to talk about here. But I think that part of that and how I think the Chiefs are going to attack the Bolts in this game lends itself to the Chiefs winning this, just from a defensive matchup standpoint.
Yeah, and Kansas City always historically a tough place to play, too. I imagine with the opener there, too, they're going to do maybe like a Len Dawson thing would be my guess. Like, there's going to be some old-timey Chiefs stuff going on. So that might be a very raucous crowd just saying that out loud. And, you know, when those crowds are into it, it's certainly a tough place to play. Another little factor in, too, which I wonder if this kind of tends towards your theory about the under in tonight's game, is Matt Amendola will be kicking for the Chiefs. Harrison Butker is out with the ankle injury. So when it comes to that situation where you've downgraded the kicking game, does that also kind of shade you to the under with that?
I mean, it can. You're talking about 3 to 4 field goal attempts.
Right.
I mean, if he doesn't hit 2 or 3 of those, say the kicker goes 1 for 4, you're losing 9 points off of the total. Yeah, I think it definitely plays into it. I love that call, Joe.
All right, fair enough. Let's
kickers
move
are people
over.
too. We love them, man.
Everyone keeps telling me they are, so I just have to believe this too. So, I mean, that's fine. No, they are. We love the kickers. Actually, my favorite kicker got released last week, Rodrigo Blankenship. That made me sad.
That did make me sad.
Straight up sad. I love that kid in college, man. He's just, I mean, great name with the goggles, the whole thing. It's hard. The NFL is not for long, right? That's what they say. You miss a couple big kicks, next thing you know, you're out of a job. But look, you nailed it. Like, you get a couple field goal attempts, you miss them, maybe a couple extra points. All of a sudden, that's that point total. Those little tiny things with a big point total can really make a big difference. Let's get to the prop bets and some of D-Bro's favorites in this game. Let's start with Travis Kelce. The number is 80.5 receiving yards for Kelce. That's a pretty good size number here. What are your thoughts on this one? Are you going over or under?
So I think people are their first reaction is they're going to look at this number and they're going to say it's got to be the under. Like, that seems like a really stout number, and I'm on the other side that I don't think it's stout enough. You look at what Kelce did against this Bolts secondary last year. Their two matchups, Joe, he was tight end 4 and tight end 1 in fantasy. He averaged 8.5 receptions and 147 receiving yards. So when I pull this up and I see, oh, there's 80? Over, smash it.
Well, 121 last week, 8 catches on 9 targets. He also had a touchdown that game. So I'm with you. I think this is actually pretty reasonable. It's a big number. It's going to scare a lot of people away. But I think the 80.5 is an over too. I'm with you. Let's go to Juju, who had a good start here for the Kansas City Chiefs. His number is 58.5. You want to go over or under on this one?
I'm going to go over on this one. I mean, we saw Juju before the game got out of hand. He was targeted a ton in that game. And yes, I understand I was not on Smith-Schuster coming into the season. I get that. I've owned my L. So just so everybody's clear on that. But when you look at the matchup in the slot versus Bryce Callahan, and just the size difference between Juju and Bryce Callahan, who stands at 5'9", allowed a 66% catch rate, 102 passer rating in slot coverage last year, I think this is a matchup where Mahomes, if he's looking across the field and he's under duress, he says, oh, I'm just going to toss it to Juju. He's got the size and the ability to win versus the smaller corner. Let's go.
Yeah. And by the way, if you've got questions, whether it be betting or fantasy or otherwise, you can put them in the chat. I want to shout out JR. Thanks for watching, buddy. Nice comment there from JR.
Shout out JR.
But look, last week somebody had a great comment in here, which is, hey, what do you think about betting the under on the half in the Rams-Bills game? And
Yep,
we went,
that
ooh, that is a great bet. We love that. Guess what? We all were in on that, and guess what? It all happened. They were in the under. We talked about coming out flat a little bit early, and that's kind of what the story was. All right, let's get to some more of the prop numbers. Let's get to CEH, the over on the rush yard total. What do you think about CEH's opportunity in this game? Certainly the first CEH contest there was pretty good. The number is 45.5 for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. The projections of Fantasy Pros I'm at 53.7. So is that an over for you?
Oh, it's an over for me. I mean, we saw Josh Jacobs go over 57 rushing yards on only 10 attempts last week. And you're looking at the Bolts. I mean, look, come on, Joe. Like, they gave up the 3rd most rushing yards in the NFL last year. They didn't do a whole lot of things to change up their defense. And that is the matchup that I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to target, and they're going to look at and say, look, we can run on you. If you're going to try to blitz Mahomes and you're getting after Mahomes, the way that we're going to neutralize this, we're just going to stick the ball in CH's stomach and let him do his thing.
Fair enough. Let's get to one more here. DeAndre Carter, the number is 2.5 receptions for Carter. You like the over or under on this one?
I like the over on this one. It's a low number. He surpassed this last week in playing like less than half a game. He's the starting slot wide receiver for Los Angeles today. L'Jarius Sneed is a matchup and a slot corner that you can take advantage of. Carter, in the few games we've seen him in his career where he's run over 25 routes in the game, his numbers have been good, Joe. Like, he's crested 1.7 yards per route run in most of those games. I think that he could be heavily targeted. And looking at 2.5, I feel like the number's too low. If this number was closer to, say, 3.5, then I would stay away from it. But seeing it's at 2.5, I like it a lot.
You know, it's funny, too. I'm looking at the prop bet cheat sheet, which is available over bettingpros.com. If you haven't already checked that out, check it out, because it gives you the fantasy projections basically against the props and, of course, the best place to bet them. What I found fascinating going back to the Travis Kelce one is they've got him as the under at 70.4. And I'm with you, D. I do not see that. I see the over for Kelce as well. I mean, that's just go-to guy. I know a lot of people are in on Gerald Everett in this game. A lot of people have soured on Mike Williams after just one game. I don't think we want to get too high or low about things. Let's talk about Everett first, and then we'll get to Mike Williams. Everett in this game has a 41.5 yardage total. That seems a little high to me. I'd be looking more for him in the red zone potentially, but what do you think about this number at 41.5? Is that a stay away, or is that potential for money?
I think that one's more of a stay away, and I don't have it up in front of me, Joe. Where's his reception line at? I don't want to say it's like 2.5, or is it 3.5?
I've got to pull that one up, and as I'm looking for it, but it's somewhere in that range for sure.
Because I'm more inclined with Everett. with Keenan Allen out, if it's not Carter that's going to get short area targets, I think it's Everett. So if I'm going to pick out a line that I want to take the over
4.5. That's the number. 4.5.
Even that's, I mean, that's a good line. I think both of these are probably stayaways for me. Like if the Everett line was even at 4 or 3.5, I would take the over, but I feel like it's been juiced. So I'm probably just, I'm going to shy away from both of these.
Let's talk about Mike Williams. The number is 69.5. Projections are right about there too. That feels like a good number, but the difference is without Keenan Allen in this game, which is obviously the big injury we're all talking about. I understand he was out last week, and I understand Mike Williams didn't smash. I get all that. Do we really think that's a trend that's going to stay? I don't. I think Mike Williams has great potential in this game, and Mike Williams is exactly the kind of wide receiver that would give the Kansas City Chiefs fits. So I'm in on Mike Williams this week, and I'm in on that over. How about you?
Yeah, I'm still in on the over. I know that the we were talking to Erickson before we went live here. The numbers moved a good bit. I want to say it opened in the high 50s. I'm still willing to take the over here. I'm totally fine with that. I think that if you look at what Mike Williams did against this secondary last year, he got 9 targets in each game versus them. He smashed the first time that he faced them. I think Mike Williams is going to get a ton of targets in this one, even if you were to go average those games out. I mean, like the first game, he had 7 receptions, 122 receiving yards. So I'm happy taking the over for Mike Williams.
Yeah,
he's going to have to be the focal point, man.
I think it's an easy one. I really do. Let's talk about the quarterbacks here. And I know you like the under potentially, but these numbers are very high in terms of the passing yardage. We got 298.5 for Mahomes, 277.5 for Herbert. Either of these appealing to you, or are they both stayaways because they're very high and very close to projection?
So I'm probably staying away from both of them, but how I'm projecting this game, depending on books and stuff like that, if you can get plus money on the under on Mahomes, I'd be willing to bet that, only because of how I'm projecting this game. I think he comes close to that number, but I'm willing to sit here and take the under on Mahomes' passing yards.
Better than any of those, I prefer the 1.5 passing touchdowns for Herbert and the over. And that's over at Caesars you can get. That to me that's the one. Show me the money on that one. I mean, it's a lot of juice, so you have to pair it into something else that's a little bit more of a gimme. So take one of Derek Brown's, like take Kelce and something else and put the Herbert 1.5 in there. Because the juice is minus 194. It's ridiculous, but it's a give me bet. But that's the kind of gimme bet where you take that, you take Mike Williams, you take Kelce, and that's your parlay. And all of a sudden, you've got a pretty decent wager on your hands. That's how you do that. Let's take a question here from the gallery. Let's go with Sam Young. In a half PPR, would you stack James Robinson, Elijah Moore, or who would you start here? James Robinson, Elijah Moore, or Breece Hall? And he says, thanks, fellas. Love the show. We love you too, Sam. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Sam.
Look, James Robinson looked sharp. Breece Hall had some moments. Elijah Moore didn't have the big moment, which is why you have Elijah Moore. So what are your thoughts on this one? Who would you start in the half PPR format this week?
I'm probably going James Robinson.
Me too.
You don't have to like it, but I think that he showed enough effectiveness, and as well as if ETN keeps clapping at balls and not catching them for the rest of the season, Robinson's going to factor more into the passing game.
He'll be fine. Give Travis Etienne a break.
With you. I agree.
Stop with the seal hands there. Everyone making fun of my dude, Travis Etienne.
Trying to make our guy Sam feel good about starting J-Rob.
Much respect from J-Rob, though. Like, because that dude's really come like
just keeps defying the odds.
He does, man. Like the heart of an undrafted free agent should never be doubted, I guess. Like at the end of the day, just don't doubt those guys. All right, you got another question here from Logan. Are you factoring in Allen being out as a major knock against the Chargers? I'm not putting it in as a major. It's a knock. I mean, Keenan Allen's a great player. It's a big knock, but I think with Palmer and I think with Mike Williams that you have enough to compete in this game regardless.
So I think it's a knock, but the other thing I want to point out here, Joe, and we haven't even discussed this name yet. And I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are on how I'm approaching this. Austin Ekeler. I feel like if we would not have seen what we saw out of him in week 1 and him splitting the work 3 ways with Kelly and Sonny Michel, do you think his prop numbers would be higher coming into a massive game? So in that being said, could the Chargers have limited Ekeler on a short week, knowing, and I'm not forecasting the Keenan Allen injury,
but good. I want to get like a nice piece of tinfoil and make a hat. This is fun.
But knowing they were going to have a short week And they're going to need their man to sit here and lean on a Thursday night game in an interdivision game. And they need Austin Ekeler to sit here and be ready to rock, not banged up at all.
Well,
and
the
they can
yardage
beat the
total,
Raiders.
is 52.5 for Austin Ekeler on the rushing side. Receiving side, 39.5. So
would those prop numbers be higher if he'd have gone out and he balled out in week 1?
Probably. I think they would be, to be honest with you.
I think those are accounting for the fact of the 3-way split and what he did in week 1. So I think that they're good lines, but I think that they're worth getting some action on the overs because we see this go back to a 2-way split. Hell, if Ekeler plays 70% of the snaps and Herbert and company are like, look, we need him. Keenan Allen is out. Parham is out. We need our dude. Ekeler could smash the overs on these.
Sony Michel, by the way, is a very small total too, 15.5 rushing yards. That seems pretty low to me.
It's low.
Even if,
I mean,
I don't love Sony Michel, but 15.5 is pretty low.
Well,
if he gets 5 carries, he gets this.
I'll say it's low, but in my tinfoil approach to this,
it's all
if anybody is going to lose work, he's going to be the first one to do it. So actually, in following this process down the rabbit hole, I'm going to take the under on it.
All right, last question here from Sam Young. Do you guys like the Chiefs -3 in the first half? I do. I do. I think the Chiefs come out like gangbusters. I actually think that's a good side of this game to be on there. So that'll do it for us. If you need more content, more coverage, head over to bettingpros.com where we have full breakdowns of this game. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to Betting Pros YouTube channel. Click that bell till it goes ding for notifications. So you know every single time a piece of content drops here on the pods, on the live streams, everything for you. Hanging out, talking football. Enjoy Thursday Night Football. It is going to be a fun one. And the first game on Amazon. So does that mean there's a new football theme song, right? Another new one because it's Amazon? I don't know. I'm excited.
All right, we're going to tune in to find out.
There we go. That'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on for Derek Brown. I am Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.